Friends, in this class, we would continue our discussion on the play Riders to the Sea. And the focus of this class would be to understand the nature of the sea and its relationship to Moria, the principal character of the play Riders to the Sea. In fact, in his famous work, The Aran Islands, Synge has argued that in Inishmaan one is forced to believe in a sympathy between man and nature. However, in the play Riders to the Sea, we see something opposite. In place of sympathy between man and nature, we encounter the cruel indifference, if not malevolence, of the sea. In fact, it is the threat of the sea which is the haunting motive of this play. The sea in Riders to the Sea is the agent of drama. You remember, Synge has set his play in an island of the west of Ireland, and the entire play is about Moria, her vision of life, trapped in that small area of island. For her, the sea is nothing less than an evil itself. To Moria, the sea is her enemy, the destructive principle, the destroyer of human life. You remember, in the play, Moria says, there was Seamus and his father, and his own father again, were lost in a dark night, and not a stick or sign was seen of them when the sun went up. There was patch after was drowned of a cura that turned over. If you analyze this statement by Moria, you clearly recognize that the sea has been so cruel to Moria that she has taken away her husband and her sons from her. In fact, there is a very famous statement used by Synge in his famous work, The Aran Islands, where he says, on these islands, the women live only for their children. The maternal feeling is so powerful on these islands that it gives a life of torment to the women. Now, this quote is significant in the sense that it foregrounds the dichotomy, or rather the conflict between the maternal figure of Moria and the cruel sea. In fact, the maternity of Moria or her motherhood is constantly being challenged by, quote unquote, the evil of the sea. You should also understand that sea has a very different meaning for Bartley. At least it is very different from Moria's conception. To Bartley, the sea represents a purpose in life. For Bartley, the sea is his life as well as the source of his livelihood. In fact, you remember Kathleen saying in the play, it is the life of a young man to be going on the sea. Now, you can understand here that if for Moria, the sea symbolizes evil and malevolence, for Bartley, it offers, quote unquote, the source of livelihood. It is the source of material self-preservation, which later on turns out to be self-destruction. In fact, the central issue of the play Riders to the Sea is the conflict between Moria and the sea. However, we cannot reduce this conflict into good and evil. In fact, it will be fallacious to argue that the issue between Moria and the sea is a straightforward fight between good and evil for the soul of man. you know that sea may symbolize evil, but for Bartley, it symbolizes real life. What I'm trying to suggest you here, I'm trying to suggest you here that you need to make a distinction between Bartley's perception of sea and Maurya's perception of sea, because only by making this distinction you will understand the ambivalence of the representation of the sea in the play. Another, very important aspect that you need to understand is how Maurya can be seen as the eternal mother. She is the mother, you remember, the custodian of her family, and in fact, the conflict between Maurya and the sea ends up in Maurya losing the war. She, as the play ends, has lost all her sons. Even her last surviving son, Bartley, is drowned. All right. So the sea for Maurya would continue to symbolize destruction. It would continue to symbolize malevolence. In fact, at the end of the play, when Maurya says, in fact, Maurya's stoic resistance to the sea is praiseworthy. She says, they are all gone now, and there is not anything more the sea can do to me. I will have no call now to be up, crying and praying when the wind breaks from the south, and you can hear the surf is in the east. Here, you need to understand that Maurya, although defeated by the sea, has emerged as the Saroic mother. In fact, if you remember or if you analyze carefully, her name, Maurya itself, had its source in Muir, M-U-I-R, which stands for sea. Incidentally, her name also had its source in a Greek word called Moira, M-O-I-R-A, which means fate. All right. Here, you can understand this sorrowing mother, Maurya, whose name alludes to both the sea and the fate. All right. Therefore, you can say that Maurya's tragedy as a mother is both an act of sea and also an act of fate. It is clear, if you have read the play carefully, that Maurya is a life-giving force in the play. However, her act of motherhood or her motherly nature is challenged by the life-denying force of the sea. So friends, I would end my class by telling you that if you have to understand this play, you have to understand the cruel game of the fate which the fate plays with Maurya. It is a game between Maurya and the sea. Maurya keeps sending her sons to the sea as riders, and those riders are never allowed to return by the sea. So, Maurya's tragedy, as I told you, is enacted as a consequence of the cruel malevolence of the sea. Here, the sea has been shown as the representative of the fate. Fate which is cruel, fate which is blind, which does not understand what it means for a mother to lose her sons, to see them dying. All right, I would end my class here. Thank you.